We are live now.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lynn. So we're live. Welcome everyone to workshop number 2 for the AZ Boost Hackathon, hosted by DoraHacks and Atom Accelerator DAO. The first workshop we had a couple weeks ago was focused more on the technical side of things. Binary Builders hosted a workshop on building out a few modules in the Cosmos SDK. But for workshop number 2, we're very, very excited to have Cam from Chorus One joining us to discuss Cosmos governance and exploring different aspects of how it's evolving, whether it's within the foundation, other challenges, proposal technology, etc. So we're very, very excited to be hosting this educational and resourceful workshop with the Chorus One team, and Cam here, who's joining me on the stage. Cam, if you'd love to introduce yourself to the audience, would love to have you say a few words.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So first of all, really happy to be there. Thank you so much. Thanks to the DoraHacks team for inviting me. So yeah, basically on this workshop, we will talk a bit more about, the Cosmos ecosystem and how governance is working there. So we will explore the foundation, the different challenges, and how we can also shape the future. So just to introduce a bit myself, so I have a slide here. So I'm a research analyst at Chorus One, and Chorus One is one of the largest staking provider in Europe. I have a background in traditional finance, was working in the banking industry before, also, worked for some the hedge fund industry as well. And I've been involved in the Cosmos ecosystem over the past 2 years. So I have quite a good knowledge of the Cosmos ecosystem, its architecture, and how is it working, also in terms of governance. And maybe just to present a bit more Chorus One. So as I said, Chorus One is one of the largest staking provider in Europe. We have almost $1 billion of assets staked on our nodes. We are live on more than 35 networks. One of the largest ones Ethereum, Solana, Polygon, Axela, Sui, Aptos, and so on. And we have also, we have different services. We offer a project called Opus, which is a multi-chain staking API for some institutional clients. We also have Chorus One Alpha, in which we offer research and consulting services. And last one, we have Chorus One Ventures, which is our venture branch in which we support financially projects that we believe in. And Chorus One has quite a whole story with the Cosmos ecosystem, because we were one of the first validators on Cosmos, on the Cosmos Hub. We were one of the Genesis validators on the Cosmos Hub. We are now securing approximately 25 blockchains based on the Cosmos SDK, which is quite a lot. And we wrote extensive, research about the Cosmos ecosystem. One of the latest research paper that we wrote was about the upcoming DYDX chain, which will be based on the Cosmos SDK. And the research was about MEV on the upcoming DYDX blockchain. And last point is we are also a very, very active participant in Cosmos governance. So we think that it's very, very important, to have and to make decision for the future of all the different Cosmos chain. And now, if it's okay on your side, Brian, maybe I can just start, chatting a bit more, presenting the governance and Cosmos governance.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you for providing a brief overview about yourself and Chorus One as well. Before you get started, I would just like to say, if anyone in the chat has any questions during this workshop, please feel free to reach out to myself or the DoraHacks team directly. My Telegram's @BrianDora, or you can reach out to @DoraHacks official on Telegram. And of course, you can connect with us on Twitter or Discord as well. So if any questions, please feel free to ask me directly, or if you want to ask them in the chat as well, whether you're on YouTube or Binance Live or some other site where you're watching this, all of your questions will get redirected to me here. So I'll be happy to ask Cam. So just feel free to stop us at any time. And I'm sure Cam feels the same way about himself and Chorus One. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And with that said, yeah, please take it away, Cam, and get into the meat of the workshop.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So thank you so much. So yeah. So as I said, Chorus One is like a validator, and as a validator, we have like to participate in governance. And what's very unique on the Cosmos ecosystem is that you have governance at the chain level, which is very different from like ecosystems like Ethereum or Solana, in which you don't really have like governance at the chain level. And governance is quite like a general word. So before really diving into the Cosmos ecosystem, I first want to introduce a bit more what governance is like in general. So governance is, first of all, is coming from like the Greek word kubernan that created then the Latin word kubernare, which then created governance. And what's funny about that is that initially the word governance meant like to conduct like a boat or a ship. You can think about governance as you're the captain of a boat and you have like to bring your passenger to one specific destination. And for another analogy is that you can think about an orchestra conductor. Let's say you are an orchestra conductor and you have like a bunch of talented musicians in front of you. So your goal as an orchestra conductor is not to like be a talented musician. Your goal is to bring all those talented musicians together and make sure that there is harmony and coordination. And that's what governance is all about. It's like about harmony, coordination towards some specific objective and goals. And nowadays we can see, governance apply a bit everywhere on our society, like education, on companies, and also on blockchains. And of course, as I said, governance is quite general, and of course there are different governance systems. So if you want to really measure governance very, very simply, you can basically create like a system based on just two variables. So the first kind of variable is like, I'm not sure if it's working well, but yeah, the first kind of variable is like the power distribution. If the power distribution is quiet decentralized, or on the other case, like quiet centralized. And the second variable is just a community participation. If the community participation is like low or high. And based on those two variables, you can basically create different governance systems. So if there is a system in which the power distribution is quite centralized and the community participation is quite low, then you are basically in an authoritarian system. If you're in a system in which the power distribution is quite centralized, but still community participation is quite high, you are in like a monarchy. Another case is if the power distribution is quite decentralized, but community participation is quite low, you have an anarchy. And the last one is like power distribution quite decentralized and high level of community participation, you have a democracy. And basically you can put some blockchain and ecosystem in those different cases. For example, my personal opinion is that Ethereum is more like a monarchy because most of like the governance and decision are coming from the Ethereum Foundation, but still they hear what the community has to say. You can think about an anarchy like a blockchain like Conto. Why? Because Conto is like a blockchain in which you don't have any core team, you don't have any foundation. It's mostly like a community chain, but still in terms of like governance, there is not a lot of like participation. And a democracy, you can think about the most well-known Cosmos chains, because on Cosmos you still have a system that is quite decentralized. You have some core teams, you have some foundations, but still the community is very, very involved in terms of governance, and they are very active. And basically, as a blockchain, you would like to tend toward like a democracy. And of course, like during like the life of a blockchain, there are different stakeholders that can have an impact on governance and on the decision of a chain. So we'll see the different stakeholders based on like the different stages and phases of the life of a blockchain. So you first have the early stage. This happens when the network is not live yet. So you don't have a lot of stakeholders. Basically, you only have the founders who have most of like the token and equity, and they can just sell a part of their token and equity to some like venture capital firms so that they raise money in order to like build their project, to hire people and so on. And they can also like give a part of their equity or tokens to some advisors so that they can these people can just help them and advise in some like, strategic decisions. Then you have the growth stage. This happens when the network is live and you have like a bit more stakeholders. You first have the community that has, as a new stakeholder, you have the community that gets the token from in different ways. It can be like from airdrops, it can be from ICOs, or it can just be like by buying the token on a decentralized exchange. Let's say like Uniswap or Osmosis, if it's on the Cosmos ecosystem. And you also have here a new stakeholder, which is validators. And usually validators, when they are securing a chain and they are validating a chain, they usually like to have a stake on the chain. So yeah, this is the kind of like stakeholder that you can also have here. And when the chain is more mature, you have also like other stakeholders. Here you can have centralized exchanges, because usually, when the network gets some traction and people start talking about it, the centralized exchanges would like to list the project on their platform. So you can have centralized exchanges that start getting some allocation, buying the token or something like that. And you have a new kind of stakeholder, which is DAOs. And when the network is very, very mature, you usually have some DAOs that like to get, let's say, a part of that treasury in the token. For example, you have different DAOs on Ethereum that have a part of that treasury in ETH. So yeah, this is like the different kind of stakeholders that you can see on the network. And now let's talk a bit more about Cosmos. So what makes Cosmos governance very interesting? So what I did is that I took the example of different project, OG project, DeFi project on Ethereum, and I checked the governance participation there. So as you can see, you have like since inception, Compound has a bit more than 13,000 votes. You have SushiSwap, which has a bit more than 40,000 votes, and Uniswap that has like a bit less than 300,000 votes. And this is Cosmos. This is one single proposal on the Cosmos ecosystem, on the Cosmos Hub. This is proposal 792, which was about accepting Neutron as a replicated security chain. And you can see that the level of governance participation on Cosmos is very, very high. On one single proposal, there are like a bit more than 70,000 votes, which is a lot compared to, let's say, here Compound or SushiSwap since inception. And even if you compare, like, it's less than Uniswap, but if you compare the number of votes with the number of proposal, Uniswap has something like between 2,000 and 3,000 votes per proposal, which is still like much less than one single proposal on the Cosmos Hub. So you can see that, first of all, the like governance system on Cosmos is quite mature, but also that there is a lot of like participation and community involvement in governance on the Cosmos Hub here. And I think this is also probably because of the design. So Cosmos chains have designed that are very like unique because they are delegated proof of stake blockchains. So to explain a bit more what a delegated proof of stake chain is let's say you are a user and you have some Atom token, and you would like to stake your tokens. Your token, first of all, to secure the blockchain, but also to get some staking rewards from the inflation, and also, to get part of like transaction fees and so on. So what you have to do is that you have to find a validator, like let's say One, and you have to stake your token to a validator that is providing this infrastructure. And in exchange of that, you receive staking rewards. And on the side of the validator, so by providing this infrastructure, usually the validator takes a commission on the staking rewards. And there is also one thing that is very important, is that when a validator gets more and more tokens delegated to its node, its voting power also increases. It means that this potential validator can have like a larger impact in terms of like governance. And this is, for example, Chorus One on the Cosmos Hub. So here we have a 2.6 million Atom staked on our nodes. And this means that we got like a voting power of approximately 1.5%. And this means that by having like this voting power, we can also have like an impact in terms of governance and an impact on the future governance proposals. And Cosmos, like the governance system is quite well defined, and it's very clear, and we also have like different kind of governance proposals. So I will go like through the different kind of proposal. We have mainly 4 different proposals. So the first one is the parameter change. Parameter change is very simple. It's when someone would like to change one specific parameter on the blockchain, that team can just publish a governance proposal, and the community will vote on it and accept the parameter change or not. One example is here, like for example, increasing the validator set on the Cosmos Hub. And this is something that you can change through governance. And what's specific about the Cosmos ecosystem is that being a validator is permissionless, but the set is limited to a certain number of validators. And if you would like to be on the active set, you have to get enough delegation to actually earn revenue from the network. So this is something that is very specific also on the Cosmos ecosystem, and also on other networks as well. But yeah, so usually here it's the example of increasing the validator set. Some people say that it's good for decentralization. It can be good, but the thing is that usually what's better for decentralization is the Nakamoto coefficient. And sometimes, it's not necessarily very, very helpful to have a larger set if the Nakamoto coefficient is still very low. Second type of proposal is this simple text proposal, which is if someone would like to know the opinion of the community, can create a governance proposal, and then the community vote on that specific proposal. It usually serves as a basis for future proposal or actions. One example is here, so launching Neutron as a replicated security chain. So for the people that are not really familiar with replicated security and interchain security, so basically interchain security is a shared security system on the Cosmos ecosystem. And this happens when you have a chain that is already live, that is very secure, like the Cosmos Hub. And a team can basically create its own blockchain and can be secure by the validator set of the Cosmos Hub. So when this happens, we say that the Cosmos Hub is a provider chain because it provides security. And we say that a blockchain, like in this case, Neutron, is a consumer chain, meaning that Neutron gets security from the Cosmos Hub. And in that specific case, Neutron is as secure as the Cosmos Hub. So this is the kind of text proposal that we can have just to get the opinion of the community. The third one is the community pool spend. And this happens when a team would like to get funds from the community pool and from the community. So usually what happens here is that a team create a proposal, explain how much they would like to get from the community, and explain how they will use the fund. And one example is here, the example of Stride. So Stride is a liquid staking protocol on Cosmos. And they created a governance proposal to get some Atom from the community pool. And the idea there was to get those funds to create a ST Atom pool on a DEX on Neutron. So this is the kind of community pool spend that we can have on Cosmos. And last type of governance proposal is the software upgrade. And this is mostly for validators. So usually, core teams can create a software upgrade governance proposal just to coordinate the upgrade, because that's validators that are running the software and that need to upgrade the chain. So this kind of proposal are just, to let validator, to make validator aware of when the upgrade will happen and at what time. And this is one example with the V10 on the Cosmos Hub. And yeah, so as I said, governance, how governance is structured on Cosmos is quite well defined. And basically, we have like a whole process to follow to publish a governance proposal on chain. So there are like different phases. The first one is just the pre-submission phase. And this happens when like a team has an ID. So the team just developed the ID and determine what kind of proposal is it. Is it like community pool spend? Is it text? Is it parameter change? And so on. And they just publish a draft on a forum. So for the Cosmos Hub, it's simply like the Cosmos Hub forum. They get some like feedback from the community and they can improve their draft based on like the community feedback. Next step is just publishing the proposal on chain. So what the team has to do is just creating a JSON file and like make a transaction to publish the proposal on chain. And then we go through the deposit period that lasts 14 days max. So here, the idea is that usually the team that would like to publish a governance proposal also has to put its money at stake just to make sure that there is like the governance proposal is really like qualitative. It's not like an attack or it's not a spam proposal. So what happens during this phase is that a team has to put a part of their atom at stake on a escrow account, and if the deposit is not reached after 14 days, then the proposal is just rejected, doesn't pass. And if they at least put some atom on deposit, then the deposit is just burned. But if they go through the deposit phase, then we go on the like next phase is the voting period. And voting period is like when everybody is involved. So the first point is that the governance proposal has to reach a specific quorum. If the quorum is not reached, then the deposit were like put on the escrow account are just burned. But if the quorum is reached, then like it's based on like the result. So if the community in majority voted yes, then the proposal passed. If the community in majority voted no, the proposal doesn't pass. But there's one specific thing on Cosmos is that there's the no with veto. So if at least 1/3 of the voting power on the network is voting no with veto on the proposal, then the proposal is rejected and the money that was put at stake is just burned. And this can happen when someone just put it like a spam proposal and decided to put enough money at stake, or someone is just like there is something wrong with the proposal. Someone wanted maybe to attack the network or something like that. So this is like a solution that the community can use to burn like the money at stake and reject the proposal. And yeah, and this is like all the different phases. So you have the pre-submission phase, proposal phase, deposit phase, and then the voting period. So this is how Cosmos is working. But even if like the Cosmos governance is quite well structured, we still have some challenges to face. And the first challenge is communication. We are in a decentralized network and we have to deal with like an international community. And sometimes it can be, very hard to deal with like an international community, especially, for when there are some like governance proposals that are, about, let's say, change in tokenomics or something like that's involved like very strong change in the network. Usually you can have some, I would say, clashes between communities because we are coming from like different cultures, different background, and so on. And usually, so what I've seen on the Cosmos ecosystem is that like people from the US and so on are really like for governance proposal that can involve like very, very strong changes in the network. But on the other side, you have like people, let's say from Europe or people from Asia that are more conservative. For example, I'm from France, and it's true that sometimes, France is quite well known for like it's a very conservative country. I think most like countries in Europe are also very conservative, and sometimes we can have like discussions about some specific changes in the network. Usually people from Europe and Asia don't really want to go like step by step, very slowly, and on the other side like people from the US or Canada would like to get a bit more faster. So we can have this kind of debate and discussion between the different communities. And also one point that is can be also challenging is the language of governance is English, and you can have people like from the community that don't necessarily have this like English knowledge, and sometimes it can be very hard for them to clearly understand what a governance proposal is about and so on. And there's one funny thing here. For example, this is like a screenshot coming from the Cosmos Hub forum, in which there was like a draft in English, and some people here were just replying to the draft in French, because they said that okay, they didn't have like this knowledge to like write clearly in English. So what they did is that they just wrote in French, and this is this kind of like challenge that we can have between communities. So this is something like that is quite interesting, and there are some teams that are now working on that to like integrate more and more people that don't necessarily have this English knowledge. And there's the MinScan team. So MinScan is one of the largest explorer and the main explorer of the Cosmos ecosystem, and they integrated like different languages, so that MinScan is also showing different governance proposals. And now, let's say if you're someone based in France, someone based in Spain, or so on, you can basically just select your language and have like a better understanding of what a governance proposal is about. And this is an example, for example, like in Korean. So there's like this governance proposal, and you can switch the language in Korean to get a summary of the governance proposal, but in Korean. And there's also one thing that we have to deal with is in terms of like social application. So what's interesting, especially in terms of governance, is that usually people from the community can chat about governance a bit like in different I would say like application. Some people are chatting about governance proposal on Twitter, some on like Discord, some on Telegram chats, some on just on forum, and some on Reddit. And this sometimes can be challenging in terms of like efficiency, because you can have, one person that is asking a question on Twitter, someone else asking the exact same question on like Telegram, or someone else asking, again, the same question, but on Discord. And I think this is like not good in terms of efficiency, and we will need to improve that. I'm not sure if it's possible to improve that, because we have to deal with like decentralized community and so on. And basically, people can use the app that they prefer to chat about one specific subject. But at least something that I would like to see maybe in terms of, to integrate maybe more and more people is, let's say, have like automatic translation. For example, if someone is coming from one country and is not like English native, but would like to participate in like the different discussion. Let's say I'm chatting, I'm seeing, I'm French, and I'm seeing like, a tweet about one specific governance proposal in English. Maybe I can like answer in French, and on the other side, the person can see the tweets automatically, translated in English, so that we can have like a discussion, but in different languages, and that doesn't like that doesn't change, the experience. So this is something that I think Twitter is currently working on, and I would like to see that maybe on like other different like social application. And the second like challenge that we can see on the Cosmos ecosystem is participation. So so the thing is, when you check the documentation on the Cosmos ecosystem, and when you check the part related to Cosmos validators, you see that Cosmos validators must participate in governance. And when you check in reality, for example, the top 10 validators on the Cosmos Hub, you can see that there are 2 validators that have never voted in governance. Mostly, they are mostly like centralized exchanges, like Coinbase and Binance. And you can also see that there is half of like validators on the top 10 that voted on less than 50% of the proposal. And my personal opinion is that running nodes and participating in governance are different skill sets. Maybe, you know, some like companies are very good at like running software and providing infrastructure, and maybe, you know, they're not necessarily that good like in participating in governance. So let's say one case study is that you have a custodian like, you know, a centralized exchange. Usually these like companies can get, you know, funds from like VCs or funds from their retail clients. So what they do is that they usually stake tokens directly on the platform, and this custodian just spin up, let's say, a node, they spin up a validator, and they like get delegation from their client directly on their platform. And the thing is, you know, these kind of companies get a lot of delegation, meaning that they also get a lot of voting power on like Cosmos networks, but they don't participate in governance. And why they don't participate in governance? Maybe because of some, you know, internal policies, or maybe because of the regulatory environment, you know, because they're just not suited to like participate in governance, because they don't really know, you know, the opinion of their clients on one specific subject. So this is something that can be very hard for them. So that's why, you know, here we have the case of large companies that have like large voting power, but just don't participate. And another case study is like community members. So you have, let's say, one community member that is very, very involved in governance, that likes, you know, the network, that would like to participate in governance. And that person also has like a quite good community behind. You know, the community is listening to that person, and that person would like to like be more involved in governance. But the only thing is that that person doesn't have like any technical skill set to spin up a validator, to manage infrastructure, and so on. And for this kind of category of people, it's very challenging, you know, to really have an impact in terms of governance. So when you take, you know, the example of a validator company right now on the Cosmos ecosystem, the thing is that you are asking this company to have like an opinion on very, very like different subject. Let's say on the from some like technical governance proposal, for some like marketing governance proposal, on economics, and on business development. I think the like largest company can do that. They can have like an opinion there on like everything, but some smaller like validators don't really have all this knowledge, you know, to have like to make like a decision on everything. And I would like to see maybe more and more in the future, like a distinction between validators on like one side and governance participant on the other side. Because some validators would like to just run the software and that's it. And some other people don't really want to run like a software or spin up a validator, but they would like to get involved in governance. And in the middle, you have like validators and companies, staking companies that can be involved in both. I think there are some companies that are doing well in both, but some companies that are not doing well in, let's say, governance participation. And we start seeing this distinction on the Cosmos ecosystem. And I will use the example of Stride, which is a consumer chain that is on the Atom economic zone. And they have what they call the governor's role. So what's funny about that is that Stride was initially a sovereign chain, and they decided to move to a consumer chain earlier this year. So what happens now is that the Cosmos Hub validators are producing blocks for the Stride blockchain. And the idea here was for Stride to, they were thinking about, okay, what should we do with the validators that were previously on our blockchain? So they decided to create this kind of governor role. And now governors don't need to run any software. They don't need to have any technical skill. what they just need is to have like enough Stride tokens staked with them so that they can participate in governance and have an impact on the governance proposal. And this is an example of one community member, which is Romo MC Gobo. And I saw recently this tweet from him because he launched a Stride governor. So some people say governator, some people say governor. I'm not really know which one is the best, but I see the governor word more often. So yeah, he said that he launched like a Stride governor, and he wanted to also have this same role like on Osmosis, but the issue with Osmosis is that right now they don't have this kind of like distinction. If you want to have like a big impact on Osmosis governance, you have to spin up a validator, get delegation, and have like a good voting power. So when someone from Osmosis said, "What's the problem with Osmosis?" then Robo MC Global just said that the problem is just technical. He's not the best suited for signing blocks, and he doesn't want to like put the delegator at risk with the infrastructure. And this is the result on Stride. So he decided to like become a Stride governor, and he received a lot of Stride token. And because of like this design, now he doesn't need to run any infrastructure, but he can have like a big impact on governance because he now has like 1.3% of like the voting power, which is a lot. So this is one like case that is very interesting. And another case is the example of Kujira. So Kujira is also a Cosmos SDK blockchain, and they created what's called the Senate and senators. So the senators are like a group between 3 and 9 people, and they basically vote and make decision on like the treasury of the blockchain. And this is very, very interesting because, you know, you have like, for example, you have here the senators, and here there are 8, and they are coming from different backgrounds. Some have some technical background, and you can see that there are some validators, but there are some that don't really have like a technical background, but they would like to have an impact on governance, right? So this is very interesting, and they basically manage the treasury. So they like vote on different governance proposal related to fund management. One example here was to DCA 60K of Kuji into AXL USDC. So yeah, this is like governance like for treasury management. And this is another case that is quite interesting in terms of governance. Another case is DYDX. So with the upcoming DYDX blockchain based on the Cosmos SDK, they would like to create what's called a slashing review committee. So the idea here is that with the upcoming DYDX blockchain, you will have validators that will run the software and that will produce blocks for the DYDX blockchain. But you have some validators that can potentially be malicious and can like use their position to actually, run some MEV strategies and get money, from the network. And what DYDX and the community would like to do is to have this kind of committee so that they can check every validator, see if they run any, MEV strategy, and see if they are, taking making money like on their user. And if it's the case, then the committee can basically decide to slash one specific validator. And if the validator then is slashed, it can potentially not be like a validator on the GY blockchain anymore. So this is another kind of governance based on, on like having like a very healthy network. And one last point is the Atom Accelerator DAO, which is also a new kind like of governance that is also quite interesting. So what happened here is that the Atom Accelerator DAO received funds from the community. So now they spin up just their own DAO, they have their own team, own committee, and so on. And they can use the funds to basically like invest in some teams, in some project that will bring value to the Atom token. And this is also a new kind of like governance, which is more like DAOs, sub-DAOs, and so on, that is also quite interesting. So to conclude a bit all this part about Cosmos governance, so we can say that Cosmos governance is now like mature enough, and it's very, very well designed, and it's very quiet. It's very mature compared to other ecosystems, and now it's time to like keep improving the current system and maybe creating something that is more beneficial for active members, community members that would like to get engaged and would like to have like an impact on a governance proposal. But there are still some challenges that we have to face. The first one is potentially populism. So the thing is that if you have, just some few people that would like to have like big impact in governance, maybe what this can create is basically, like political parties and so on. You will have, let's say, on the Cosmos Hub, one party that is for like, let's say, the hub minimalism, and another party that is maybe more for having like cosmorasm on the hub, having more application and so on. So this can potentially create some political parties that we have to maybe deal with. Another point is how to deal with governance incentives. So the thing is that right now it's very straightforward. You have a validator that is running a software, get delegation, and the validator earns revenue based on that. And potentially they can also get more delegation based on the way they vote. So this is something that's a lot of like community validator do to get delegation. But if there is a distinction between validators on one side and community governance like participant on the other side, then the question is, how do we incentivize governance participation on like for governance participants? So this is another point that we have to think about. And last point is how to deal with validators. So the thing is, let's say we have now governance participants that are not validators, and what would happen if these people just vote on a governance proposal that is like not good for validators? So this can also create some issues. And the thing is that at the end of the day, validators will still have a veto, because they can basically, if they're not happy with one specific proposal, they can basically stop running the chain, and they can potentially, just stop the chain. On Cosmos, if you have 1/3 of the voting power that just stops like running the blockchain, the blockchain is not like working anymore. So this is something that we also have to think about. And these are like the challenges that we can have if we start creating distinction between those two parties. And that's finished on my side. I hope this was clear. I hope this was very helpful. If you have like any question, or you would like to chat in private, feel free to just DM me. I put my Twitter here, my Telegram, and my DM and my email. So yeah, feel free to just send me a message. I would love to chat a bit more about Cosmos governance. If you have any ideas, always feel free to reach out. It's something that I'm really, really interested in. So yeah, just feel free to reach out. I'll check if there's any question on the chat.
Yeah, there's one question, Cam, and that was a great presentation, okay, by the way. There was no fat on that demo. It was all information. And I think it was very nicely presented. So thank you so much for taking the time to present this to our audience today. There's one question related to like governance delegation. Like, how do you see the future evolving around maybe people that want to be able to stake tokens to secure a network, or delegate to a validator, but don't necessarily want to delegate their governance or voting power? Or is there a way for organizations, maybe even validator organizations, to delegate governance ability to a governance council? That way, the ultimate owner of whatever the private key is doesn't have to be voting everything individually. Just things like this, systems that are going to evolve to streamline this process. Would be great to hear your insight on that.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So working right now on like Cosmos is if you're a delegator and you would like to stake some of your token like one specific validator, and you're not happy with the decision of one validator of your validator on a governance proposal, what you can do is that you can override the vote of your validator. Let's say I'm staking some atom, to one validator. The validator vote no to one specific proposal, but on my side, I would like to vote yes. I'm not happy with the decision, I would like to vote yes. So I can basically override the vote of my validator by just voting myself. So this is like one way to do that. And regarding like the separation between like governance, like power on one side and validators right now. So right now it's like not, there's nothing really live yet. Maybe there are some, ways that we can deal with is, okay, what can we do? Maybe can create like some kind of derivatives token just to, to like get governance power on one side and just staking token on the other side. But that's will imply like a lot of different challenges, like, how in terms of incentivization, in terms of who will vote there and so on. So I think maybe having like a kind of let's say the different governance proposal on the network, you can have a committee that is designed by the community, similar to what Kujira is doing, for example. And this committee can have like a mandate. Let's say I will vote on the different governance proposal on the Cosmos Hub over like the next 12 months or something like that. So these are some kind of system that are explored right now in the Cosmos ecosystem, and I think we still need to work a bit more on that and see how we can improve this kind of system.
Nice. No, that's a great answer. Thank you so much. So I don't see any other questions in the chat. So I think that might be it on that front. But yeah, if you have any final words you'd like to say to your audience, Cam, before we wrap up, I'll turn it over to you one last time. And if not, we can end it there.
Yeah, for sure. First of all, again, thank you so much for just inviting me. It was a pleasure to present a bit more like governance on the Cosmos ecosystem. I think this is an ecosystem that is quite advanced in terms of governance, and that's why I think it's like great to study this kind of system on the Cosmos ecosystem. And yeah, maybe last thing is, if anyone is very interested in like chatting about a bit about governance, feel free to reach out. And yeah, that's it on my side.
Excellent. Yeah, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for joining. This workshop. And I'll just close out by saying, this was amazing having a workshop focused on governance with Chorus One and Cam. But for participants in the AAZ Boost Hackathon, you have many more workshops to look forward to in the future as well. Just want to take this time to remind you, if you're working on your projects, don't hesitate to submit. We can always give you early feedback. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or Cam, and be on the lookout for more developer content coming soon. And thank you all for joining this one, for those of you that attended live in person in the different streaming rooms. So thanks everyone for joining. Thank you, Cam. And that concludes workshop number 2 for the AAZ Boost Hackathon. See you all later.